everybody. Good morning. It's election day here in Kansas, and this has been on the national news, so I'll explain during my show, but pretty important amendment on the ballot today. And I've got some crafting and crime for you. Stay tuned. Good morning, everybody. Crafting Journey here, that journey chick over on Instagram. Welcome to another edition of Crafting and Crime Daily. I slept like 5 hours last night. 5 whole hours. Yeah. It's been difficult, but it was a rough weekend, which included Monday, because I had doctor's appointments, which included, a psychiatrist, and they're like, do you own any guns? I'm like, no. So, okay. And even if I did, that's not the way women commit suicide. I'm just going to say, if I was going to commit suicide, it would not be by a gun. That's a guy's thing, yeah. Because it's too messy. I mean, it works, but it's kind of messy. Well, wait, how did I get on that topic? Anyway, please don't forget to hit the like button on your way in or out of the show today. Yeah, he's still high from celebrating the kickoff of The Great Escape, a landscape diamond painting adventure. He's like, yay, where's my painting? Okay, hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're not already subscribed. And don't forget the notification bell. You want to make sure you hit all, because you never know when I'm going to film something, on a whim. That's just me. All right, I got some water here because the coffee's brewing. I hear it. Let's get a color out for this diamond painting. We need a color. We need a color. $36.08. Pink diamonds in a pink tray. Oh my goodness. Very cute. So on my on the subject of my next adventure, which is reselling, I did go to the Goodwill yesterday after between appointments, and I made some purchases. I looked for high-end stuff, not Old Navy, stuff that had nice brands, was in good condition, and even got some Steve Madden in there. So we'll see how that stuff sells this weekend. If the weather is okay, I'm going to try to hit some yard sales, and that I will film. I felt uncomfortable filming inside of a store, Goodwill. So that's why I want a GoPro, so I can put it. They have these straps so you can put the GoPro right there on your chest, and kind of nobody knows that it's there. You wear a jacket over it, and nobody really knows it's there. And then you're not getting anybody's face on camera, you're just getting the merchandise. Anyway, so today is National Coloring Book Day. Now, don't turn me off. Let me tell you, for those of you who are not crafters, there are a lot of adult coloring books out there. One of my favorites is the Walmart coloring books. But no, seriously, there's such a wide range of coloring books. They're not just for children anymore. And people have taken coloring to a whole new level. I mean, with the shading and all these different things that they can do to make these pictures come to life on these coloring pages is absolutely phenomenal. I have tons of it. And coloring pencils. I just haven't gotten it out in a while. Maybe I should do that on a Craft With Me Wednesday. Get one of my colorist friends on and do some coloring. Yeah. I have a couple of Alice in Wonderland coloring books, adult coloring books by licensed artists. And then I've got some fun ones, some not so serious ones, like the Walmart book. I recently sent a birthday present to one of my friends. I sent her some coloring pencils, and she loves Harlequin, which is a character in like Marvel, I guess. I don't know. I'm probably wrong about that. I don't keep up with comics, but that's one of her favorites. You know, anytime there's a diamond painting with that artist, she wants it. So I found her an adult coloring book for Harlequin. So she was thanking me for the pencils. I'm like, well, what about the coloring book? She goes, I'm getting a coloring book. And she, in her head, she's thinking like child coloring book, ABCs, 1, 2, 3, you know, like a little child. And I'm like, no, this is like a real coloring book. So when she got it, she screamed. She's like, oh my God. Yeah. So she said, I thought you were just, I was brushing you off because I thought you meant like, you know, a child's coloring book. I'm like, no, this is not for a child. Because Harlequin gets into some interesting poses. I will say that. But so she's having fun coloring. I have fun with it. I'm just not that good at it. I'm really not. I probably could if I spent some time doing it. But there's so many other crafts that I am in love with that I just don't take the time. And like all the other crafts that we do, it is just another one that helps reduce stress. If you find any one of these crafts that helps reduce your stress, if you're having a really rough day, I come out here, I diamond paint or crochet or knit, and I put on an Audible book, or you could just do music, and you're not thinking about anything else except where to put a little diamond and what's going on the story that you're listening to. And it's just very, very anti-stress. Yeah. So let's talk about crafting and crime. Yesterday in the Nicholas Cruz Parkland shooter death penalty trial, we had sort of a menage of testimony. The first part of the morning was another medical examiner. There were so many dead bodies that they spread this amongst. I'm going to say this, by now we're on medical examiner number 5 or 6. Each one took, 2, 3, 4 autopsies. And I don't do math, so don't hold me to the math. But, there were an awful lot of people that needed autopsies. So he went over 3 of them yesterday. And I listened. I didn't take any notes because the injuries are so horrific that it's just mind-numbing. Then part of the afternoon was the detective that came on and put on more evidence of information obtained from Nicholas Cruz's cell phone, including texts between him and a friend. Now, I missed who this friend was, but they were planning on meeting up that evening, and his friend was going to bring girls to the house. And this texting is going on back and forth in the days leading up to the shooting and the day of the shooting. He texts Nicholas that one of the girls agreed to come over and she wants to see Nicholas, and Nicholas thinks the guy's not being serious, and he's like, yeah. Nicholas says, well, it's too late. By then, Nicholas was already in the Uber on his way to the school. And he's saying, no, it's too late. And he says, what do you mean it's too late? He said, I'm going to a movie. He says, you can go to a movie tomorrow. He's like, no, it's too late. So then he gets out of the Uber and he films, he does 3 videos on his cell phone where he espouses that he's getting ready to go in and do the shooting, and he's going to be famous and everybody's going to know his name. And this is, exactly right before he walks in to do the shooting. And he even says he planned on, he says, I have enough rounds. I think I can get probably about 20 people. That's my goal. I mean, just sickening video. Yeah, he had it on his face, and he's like just so proud of himself that he's getting ready to go do this. I'm gonna get about 50 people. I'm gonna do shooting with my AR, and yeah, it was tough to watch. Then later into the afternoon, we get victim impact statements from some of the families, which is always heartbreaking to watch. They talk about how, these individuals, they were cute babies and they grew up to be special people, and what their goals were in life, and it's just sad. It was mothers and sisters and girlfriends. The one girlfriend, oh bless her heart, she says, he was my soulmate, and he never called me his girlfriend, he called me his soulmate. It was so Twilight-ish. Very, very cute. So sad. But let's move on to the Alex Jones case. So Alex Jones, as you know, is the radio show host. He has an internet radio show hosted on his own website because he's been banned from YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. I mean, he's been banned everywhere. Nobody will let him on because he's so controversial. And baked pot stirrer is what I would have to describe him as. Just a huge pot stirrer, conspiracy theorist. I'm probably saying that horribly. Conspiracy theorist, yes. So his contention on the morning in 2012 when the Sandy Hook shooting occurred was that it was a hoax. That this was the government's way of trying to take our guns. And later that day, people were coming out saying, we should take guns away. And he said, see, I told you they were going to say to take guns away. So this just fueled his fire. And he went on for the next, it continues to this day, that he does these videos, and he will mention Sandy Hook. He doesn't mention them in every video. He's got other content, trust me. He's got all these other things that he talks about, but he always comes back to Sandy Hook. And according to Defense Counsel, there's been 29 hours of radio show airtime spent on the Sandy Hook event. Now, when he said that, the judge was pissed because there was an objection, assumes facts not in evidence. And so the witness was excused. There was an open sidebar. Jury was excused. And she just let him have it. She said, you are trying to sabotage this and cause a mistrial, and that is not going to happen. I am not declaring a mistrial because of your first-year lawyer behavior. She's just all over him about being a first-year lawyer. And so the reason she was so angry is because they don't know. Nobody knows how many hours of video he spent on Sandy Hook, because during discovery he would never turn over any of his video. From what has been turned over, we know there are 29 hours, but we don't know if that's all the video. He never responded to the discovery. That's video that could be found by the plaintiffs, but we don't know that that's everything out there. Thus why we're in this situation today, because the judge had to declare a default judgment in favor of the plaintiffs. In other words, plaintiffs, this guy's not cooperating, you win. But now we're deciding the amount of money the defendants should pay the plaintiffs. So she is not happy with this guy. So he goes on and he's asking more questions and he's getting into the videos again. And so, of course, there's another objection. And she told him that if there was going to be any contempt of court decided, she would decide it after this proceeding is over, after the trial is over. But she warned the defense counsel, you're on thin ice. You know, at one point, there was an objection about a question that he answered, and he started to argue with her, and she said, you know, he cut her off mid-sentence, and she said, I'm not done talking. And he said, shall I move on? And she said, you had better. You could see the smoke coming from her ears. She is not happy with this lawyer at all. I don't know where Alex Jones found this lawyer. He's been through several. I guess this is what he could afford. You know, and I don't know if this was one of his followers who went to law school, who volunteered to, I don't know. But the guy is a train wreck. He really is. So who was on the stand? There was and that's the other weird thing. Law and Crime it's like they're not covering the whole trial. They gave us day 5, part 2. What happened to part 1? Couldn't find it anywhere. And part 1 would be the testimony of the psychiatrist that was testifying as to the mental anguish of the plaintiffs that they suffered because of Alex Jones. So we get day 5, part 2, and it's the defense counsel questioning this psychiatrist. And this is when he's getting into all this trouble, questioning. But this psychiatrist was, you know, he said what we thought he was going to say, that the continuing rhetoric of Alex Jones kept causing mental anguish to the plaintiffs, and not because they listened to Alex Jones, but because Alex Jones's followers were harassing them. They would come up to them in public and say horrible things to them, or, you know, threaten them, and it's an awful way to live. Alex Jones had, at the time, billions of followers, billions of people that subscribed to his rhetoric. They believe this conspiracy stuff. They're very gullible, and they believe it, and they would go up to these parents in public and say stuff like, how could you? And, you know, just horrible, horrible things, really. So whatever gets shown today, I will bring that to you. I just don't understand why they're not showing us the entire thing. I know Alex Jones was in the courtroom yesterday. You know, not every day he's in the courtroom. I think he's been in the courtroom more now that he's been ousted. Now that everybody knows that if he's not there, he's probably doing a radio show. Which is not a good idea when you're supposed to be in court. And I'm curious, during the selection of the jury, what kind of questions were put forth as to, you know, do you believe in conspiracy theories, you know, that kind of thing. And do they have anybody on the jury that subscribes to those beliefs? I don't know. Now, I told you this morning on my walk that today is a very important day in Kansas. And I didn't realize we were the first state to be doing this, but there is an election today where there is an amendment on the ballot about whether or not to allow the legislature to regulate abortion. Now, it's not saying what they're going to do with abortion. So here's how the pro-lifers have spun this thing. If you want the legislature to regulate abortion, you're supposed to vote yes. So they're saying, well, we don't know what kind of regulations. They may not ban all abortions, but we think there should be limits and blah blah blah. The no people are saying we don't want legislators to decide on abortion. We don't want them to make laws on abortion. It's not their job. No. So there's the no's and the yeses, and I have a big no sign in my yard. No. So I got to get over there and vote today. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out, because there are a lot of church-going folks here who are planning on voting yes. And the way that these pro-life people have spun this is just kind of sad. So now people that were kind of on the fence, they're thinking, well, it's not going to be a total ban on abortion. They're just going to set limits on it. And I'm thinking, no, watch out. Don't believe everything you hear. And then there was a actual legislator that was interviewed on the news. And she's like, well, I really haven't given any thought to what kind of legislation we would enact if this passes. What do you mean you're not giving this any thought? Of course you've given this thought. Come on. Yeah. We just want to get through the election. Really? When somebody's lying, I'm trying to finish up this pink before the end of the show. Let's talk about this day in history. Oh, come on. One. All right. On August 2nd, 1985, this huge thunderstorm, just supercell, just opened up over the Dallas-Fort Worth airport, like that, and caused the plane crash where there was 185 people killed. This formed very, very rapidly, and this is a very, very dangerous kind of storm. Delta Flight 191 had left Fort Lauderdale and was heading to Dallas-Fort Worth. Now, Delta has a hub in Dallas-Fort Worth, so you get on your plane in Fort Lauderdale, you go to Dallas-Fort Worth, and then you disperse to wherever else you're going. This was a completely normal flight until they approached the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, this plane had already veered around one line of thunderstorms and was taking a different flight path to land the plane at the airport. He flew into the storm thinking there was going to be an updraft that would keep the plane up, and instead encountered a swift downdraft. The pilot lost control of the plane and it hit the ground 6,000 feet short of the runway. Now, on its way down, it hit a car, killing the driver, and then skidded into 2 water tanks. 135 people that perished in this accident, but 15 people that did survive but were very severely injured. Now, it's claimed that the pilots could see the developing storm and did not avoid it, which I hate when they blame the pilots for accidents like that. Very, very tragic. Very tragic. So, guys, that is the show for today. I'm going to go to work. I've got starting physical therapy today. Going to go vote. It's going to be an interesting day. So, I'll see you later, everybody. See you tomorrow in Crafting and Crime Daily. And don't forget, let's see your progress on those paintings. Me? Just a corner. Love you all.